This week I'm gonna try and turn what I have here into IDW TMNT Bebop. So this is an old 1987 TMNT. He's pretty broken. He's missing one of his shoe knives, and he's kind of scratched up, but he's missing the back piece, and this guy would transform when you open him up. It's got the human and the mutant pieces, so I'm going to take him apart and then I'm going to merge him with this guy. So luckily Bebop came with screws, or well, he's put together with screws, and he was much easier to take apart than the toys usually are. But for this UFC guy, I put him in some boiled water, and then he gets soft after a while and you can just pull him apart. They didn't all come out or come apart the way I'd like, but I can work with it. Now I use my Dremel to cut off the hands because they were attached, and I move on to some green stuff, and it's a two-part epoxy putty, and I use that to make the lines in his glasses and to get his hair started, and attach some toothpicks into his head so that it goes into the neck, and glue to the hands, 2 pieces of toothpick, and then use the green stuff to attach it all together and hold it in place. And so I had to use a toothpick to keep his head from going down. Now I add some EVA foam, and then I move on to Milliput. I like the green stuff, but when you have to do bigger jobs, the Milliput is softer. It's more like clay, and then you can spread it out and do a larger section, and it's easier to mix together, and it dries in like 4 hours rather than 24 hours. And then I can sand it, and I use an air duster to dust them off. Now I have some more Milliput. This is a silver gray Milliput, but really it's just like white, and I use that to build up his chest because Bebop is huge. He's a mutant, and he's pretty jacked. This is just a craft cord, it was called. I got it at the dollar store, and it's gold, and I'm gonna use that for his chain. And then I use some Milliput to make a little tiny skull and 2 little teeth, and then the thing that holds it onto the chain, because I wrap around that thin part. Then I can sculpt the Milliput, like smooth it out with a little water on the tool, and I made the lines in his shoe because he had those like knife parts missing from his shoe. One I took off. Then I add some more to his hair, and I just make lines, little lines with the tool to make it look like, well, hair lines, but also now for fur. And I'm going over everything, smooth it out. And you have to make his arms bigger, and then his forearms furrier, and then I decide to add some to his stomach, make that bigger. But I left enough that he can rock up and down, because he can't move. He can move a little at the waist, but and his arms have all full movement, and his chest has a rocker. But this is just a bunch of little pieces of craft wood that I glued together in a certain way so that they'll look like a chainsaw. And the blade of the chainsaw, I just made little grooves in the wood of the popsicle stick with my knife, so it looks like a chain on a chainsaw. And I started with orange, and then I went yellow on top, and then a moon yellow, and 2 coats of the yellow, but I want a little of the orange to show through to make it more like that color. And I move on to white. It's a white acrylic primer with some just regular white acrylic, and I'm painting his shoes, well, the toe of his shoe, and then the sole of his shoe, and also the glasses white, because I'm going to paint them yellow after, but it's better to do yellow on white than yellow on purple. Now between the cracks of the glasses I made like a skin tone with cinnamon brown and the same white that I was using before. I just added some brown to it. I'm covering because I want the front right now to be lighter than the back. So then I add some more brown, cinnamon brown, and burnt umber to make it even darker. And I start going on his back, and I get most of them with that. And just leave a little lighter in the chest area and the bottom of his forearms and biceps, but I still wanted it darker. So I mixed some more brown into that, and I'm covering everything but lightly, still letting some of the lighter colors show through. On the chest I just went in like the cracks and places where it would be darker just from shadow, but it wasn't dark enough. I mixed some more burnt umber, and I just kind of used that to dry brush over all the fur to make everything stand out and have different colors. Now I have a black primer and black acrylic. I use a toothpick to get in his nostrils, and then I cover his pants and cover his charms on his necklace in black. Now I move on to the moon yellow on his glasses, and now he's really starting to, I don't know, he looks cool I think now that he has the yellow glasses. I use a Tutti Frutti for the pink color for his hair and eyebrows, and what are those called? Mutton chops. I added the mutton chops and the eyebrows with the Milliput when I was doing that. And now I'm covering everything with a matte acrylic varnish. This is just a clear coat to seal everything up and blend everything together. I left the red of his shoes that he came with. I'd like to leave at least something. So the red is what I kept. And now I use silver to do the chainsaw, and so I go on the middle of the chainsaw and then I dry brush silver on what would be the chain of the chainsaw to have some distinction between the two. And I'm back with my toothpick, but this time I'm tracing out the jewelry on his face. Well, I just painted the eyebrow on, I didn't add anything for that, but I painted his lip rings, and now I'm gluing. That's just a craft wire that I use for the handles. Now he needs a vest, so I had a vest from TMNT vs. Cobra Kai, but that's too big and the wrong color and the wrong style, but I used that as a bit of a template to make this smaller vest, and I made it out of paper. I saw that it fits. And it's pretty stiff, but I'm going to try to glue it into place, and I'm adding some lips to try and help the way it fits, and also to add like a cuff to the jacket on the inside rather than it just being all white on the inside. And it makes those parts stand out more. Then I added some more after the cameras died. I had to cut his back. I tried to glue it down as best as I could, but that's what he looks like. Rocksteady will be probably in 2 weeks, and something different next week I'm going to do with Donnie that I opened last week. So until then, remember, always keep your head up. Peace.